My brother's wife tried to hire me as a low-level driver, not knowing I owned her company. Growing up, status was everything. Julian was the golden child. Dad was the vintner, Mom ran sales, and Julian was the future owner. I was free labor. If vats needed scrubbing, I scrubbed. If lines jammed, I fixed them. If I talked about culinary school, they called it a hobby. By senior year, I got a culinary scholarship. My parents said they'd only pay if I gave Julian my recipes. If I wanted credit, I could fund it myself. So, I freelanced, saved every dollar, and cultivated a custom yeast strain I planned to sell for tuition. 2 days before I left, Julian walked in with bleach. He tripped. It poured into my vats. The culture died, and my project died with it. I yelled. He cried. My parents rushed in. He didn't mean it. Dad looked at me. You made him cry. He threw my bag on the lawn, told me I was 18, and said, if you're so smart, figure it out yourself. I left with $40 and no reason to return. The next few years were rough. I worked garbage jobs, rebuilt my plan, and noticed how reckless supply chains were. Rotten produce, delayed shipments. So, I built a logistics firm to fix it. I used a shortened name, stayed hidden, and grew quietly until regional vendors depended on us. Years later, my husband and I went to a gala because my company landed a major contract. I saw my parents, Julian, and his wife in the lobby. Dad joked, are you here to bust tables? Julian smirked, then introduced his wife, an executive just hired by Sterling Logistics, my company. She looked me over. So, what do you do? I run a company. Julian laughed. She means a food truck. His wife handed me a Sterling card. We always need low-level packers. Loading, driving. I can get you an interview. Just use the service door. Then she insulted my husband. I let them keep digging. That's when the real bombshell dropped. She wanted my full name because she was about to meet the CEO. She searched the directory. Nothing. Then she typed AJ Sterling. First, her thumb stopped. Then, her eyes locked on the screen. Next, she scrolled. The color drained from her face. Julian leaned in. Mom stepped closer. Dad snapped it had to be fake. Then, she opened the verified company page. Same logo, same title, same face. Mine. She looked up. You're AJ Sterling? Yes. Right then, the commerce director walked up, shook my hand, and congratulated me on the state contract loud enough for everyone to hear. His wife looked sick. Dad went pale. Mom stared. Julian said I planned it. I told him I didn't have to. They embarrassed themselves. His wife started apologizing. I cut her off and told her she still had a job, but the executive track was gone. Because of what I said. Because of how easily you said it. I reminded Dad his vineyard was behind on freight fees. That shut him up. 2 weeks later, they came to my office. Their vineyard got hit with a supply lockout. Shipping was frozen. Distribution was dead. Accreditation was on the line. They begged for help, then tried guilt, then tried, we're family. I let them talk, then slid a folder across the desk. It was a purchase agreement. I would acquire the vineyard at its damaged value. My parents would retire immediately. Staff would stay. Julian would be sent to a rural diner that used our systems. He looked horrified. This ruins me. Heat climbed my neck and my vision blurred. No, it humbles you. They signed because they had no other move. I restored their shipping within the hour. 3 months later, the vineyard reopened under my company's name with new staff, new rules, and none of them in charge. I didn't go. I took my daughter to school and went back to work. They spent my childhood treating me like the background. In the end, I own the estate, the supply lines, and the final word.